What's up, my dudes? Are precious metal IRAs a scam? No, but there are some things you should know. This is not investment advice. This is me thinking through my own investment decision. Precious metal IRAs are part of the self-directed IRA family, where you can invest in whatever the custodian allows, such as precious metals, property, and other investments outside of the typical. There have been lots of people who have hosed their future selves with this kind of IRA. Imagine buying what is supposed to be a vacation home and doing a withdrawal in kind only to realize that your taxable income has now increased by $200,000. And that would likely put you in the 22% tax bracket, thank you very much, and have fun with the next 2 years of IRMA surcharges. The custodian is the one handling all of the paperwork and logistics for the IRA. For standard IRAs with stocks, this is Charles Schwab and Fidelity and other brokerage firms. All of these firms charge a fee of some kind, so it is best to do your research before choosing one. Scam? Not really. But I want to talk about the benefits before I talk about the pitfalls. And those pitfalls have completely wiped some investors out. It does help to understand the type of person interested so the pitfalls make more sense, to know how they can easily fall into problems and how to hopefully avoid them should you decide this product is for you. For diversification and capital preservation, some people decide to take a portion of their portfolio and put it in gold, which does sort of make sense. It does tend to keep its value even with inflation. And when you see that one of the most important things you can do during early retirement is protect the principal of your retirement account, you can see where people close to or just entering retirement would be wanting a safer investment. For a little more volatility, which can provide some more upside potential, there is also silver. Your IRA or 401k is typically where most people who have saved have a large chunk of money, so it could be one of the few ways to get exposure to real physical gold, and for some people that makes sense. It can also shield you from the collectibles capital gains tax that can apply to physical precious metals held outside of an IRA. Instead, the distributions are generally taxed as ordinary income. Whether that's a better trade-off depends on your situation. As a percentage of a portfolio, I don't see any problems with a gold IRA, but up to a top end of about 20%, and that is a lot more than I would personally feel comfortable with. It is very important to know that you do not have to keep all of your IRA or 401k money together. You can transfer a percentage or dollar amount out of a traditional IRA or 401k into one or more self-directed IRAs. And you can transfer at any time you want, not just when you're opening the account. Now, some things to keep in mind. There are exactly 0 companies that advertise a product that does not make them money in some way. The advertising for gold IRAs is highly aggressive. Really, all the information surrounding gold and silver pushes fear, uncertainty, and doubt, selling precious metals as the only investment. And I like precious metals, but they are a commodity, not nearly as stable as the advertisements and, frankly, propaganda would have you believe. Just because gold has traditionally held wealth well does not mean it will continue to do so. Now, I don't know what would replace it, but nothing is forever, including death if you believe in reincarnation, resurrection, or brain transfer into clones or machines. So the first trap is transferring your entire 401k or IRA into a precious metal IRA. I worked in sales for almost 10 years, and part of the relationship selling model is helping your customer make the best decision for their needs. A case could be made for a salesperson recommending a 100% transfer if they truly believe that gold and silver are the safest store of wealth. And you should know that salespeople are getting more inundated by marketing material than investors are. They are sitting in it all day, every day. So if a customer calls in without a plan, it really is the salesperson's responsibility to create one with them. And one can understand why they would take the 100% transfer position. It's not necessarily because of a large commission check. Not all salespeople are scumbags. Another nice thing is that you can do a distribution in kind and actually take possession of the physical metals and pay the income tax plus any other fees such as shipping and insurance. So if you want to remove it and not sell it in the IRA, that is an option. This will become relevant a little later on. So 2 things. First, have a plan before you decide to make a call and set up and fund the IRA. Know how much you're going to send to open the account. Personally, I would recommend more than around $10,000 because you want to be able to follow the entire purchase and have a little for fees and storage. This is to test the process, but also to see how the holding feels. If the holding doesn't feel right or something about the process is off, then you want a position you can afford to lose. Remember, you can always scale in more later. Second, you want to know who you're talking to. In my opinion, there should be two and ideally three separate companies: the custodian, the vendor, and the allocated storage. If it's only two companies, I would personally try to make sure the custodian is not also the vendor. To me, that sounds like a complicated relationship, especially when you want a second opinion about pricing when you are ready to sell. When you are opening the account, you should be talking to the custodian, and you want to know if you have options on precious metal dealers. Most custodians are going to have relationships built and will have a preferred vendor. If you don't have options, you will have what I call prisoner pricing, which is like restaurants in Disneyland. You are going to pay a huge markup because you don't have alternatives. This unfortunately cuts twice: first on the markup when you purchase, and again on the discount when you sell. The next pitfall is an IRA is not the correct place for rare, limited edition, or collectibles. There are a bunch of reasons for this, but principally, you can't see it and confirm if it's genuine or its actual condition. It's a little like someone claiming they own the real Mona Lisa. Unless you can independently verify authenticity and condition, you're largely taking someone else's word for it. Finding out it was stored the last 20 years in raw sewage would be a costly discovery. The other reason it's the wrong place is your premium will definitely be higher and your discount likely larger than you expect as well, particularly if you only have one avenue to sell it. But also, the entire point of a collectible is to see it, and if it's in your IRA, it's locked away somewhere. The next pitfall: there are continual fees associated with this account. Both the custodian and the storage facility will be charging you until you liquidate the position and probably close the account. Find out if you have to close the account for the custodian to stop charging you. Also, make sure you have set aside and are actively funding your account to cover these expenses. You do not want your position liquidated based on what the custodian thinks is the right thing to sell. You want to keep control over your holdings. The reasons I can't make a precious metal IRA work for my situation is the premiums are typically higher than I can find outside of my IRA because I have choices. Holding the physical asset is what makes owning the precious metals worth it, exciting, and interesting for me. When I sell, I don't want to take the first bid from the same company that sold me the position. I want to shop around. I don't want to deal with the logistics that it takes to receive an in kind distribution on top of the logistics to sell the holding. Lastly, I don't want to just take some dude's word for what the position is. I want to see it and judge for myself. For the right investor, a precious metal IRA absolutely can make sense. I just think you should understand exactly what you're buying, who's getting paid, and why before you make a call, sign anything, or commit any money. This is my opinion. If you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing, and I will see you next week.